Okay, thank you for joining us here on track 2 on Radio Days Lisbon. Thank you for joining us online. And the next session is very interesting and important. This whole packed room proves it. We as audio and radio professionals know very well that the successful radio station is made of successful morning show. So how to make this important show work the best way possible and gather people around it. Hear it from the wonderful professionals around Europe. We have here Dennis Clark, Vincent Soule, Jana Morel, and hosting Nick Goodman. And I'll pass the microphone, I'll circulate around the area, so if you have any questions, raise your hand. And please wear your masks through the session, even when you're asking the questions. But now, the ultimate guides to morning show production. On to you, Nick.
Thank you, Ollie. Hi, everyone. Welcome along. You made it this far, which is great. You guys are the warriors. We've got a great session for you, and we're going to talk about producing amazing morning shows. How do you keep listeners coming back for more on a daily basis? What are those essential elements? I could do all the CVs. Do you want me to do the CVs and all the stuff? Or they can read that online, all about you. Dennis has done loads of stuff. Vincent's been doing morning shows. I've done a few myself. So why don't we just get into the meat of it rather than do all that kind of stuff? By the way, there are no slides. There are no graphs. There are no presentations. This is a conversation between all of us, okay? Put your hands up if you are on a morning show, either as a host or a producer, or we've got a couple of hosts, producers. Excellent, good. And stick your hand up if you are a program director or run a radio station or something like that. Fantastic, look at this. This is good. So we want to hear from you in this session as well, okay? Ollie's got the mic. He's going to come round to you, and we're going to chat about a whole bunch of different stuff related to producing morning shows, all right? But let's kick it off with the most important bit, I think, which is the presenters, the hosts of the morning shows. You can have different combinations of hosts on morning shows. I know shows that have got single hosts. There's the guy and the girl. There's the zoo format with a whole team of characters. There's, is Ines in here? She presents a morning show with 3 women on the morning show. So you can have all sorts of different setups. Dennis, for you, what's your favorite setup? Do you have a favorite one when you go, oh, I love this because it's a team and I can define the characters and the roles and all that?
Do I need to, this
No,
is,
you've got your own microphone.
Okay, sorry. First of all, I'm a producer. I should know better. Sorry. No, no 2 shows are the same, in my opinion. I actually think that you have to design a radio show that is exclusive to the human beings that are performing that radio show on a daily basis. So I do love the art of defining roles. What is your reason for being on the show for the listener? So that way, I get my information from her. He makes me laugh. Thank God for this person. They're giving me this, and they do this feature. And I think that is really important to make sure not only what the target of the listener is, but just the benefit that you have to that target, and each player has a benefit and a reason for being on that show.
And do you think, Vincent, that some shows or some formats, let's say, have better combinations? So if you're in a soft AC radio station, is it better to have just one person, the listener's friend, saying hello every morning? Or if you're in a CHR, you want a big zoo? What's your view on this?
Perhaps it depends on your format and on the number of the songs you play every hour. Because if you play 8 or 10 songs, perhaps it's difficult to have 4 or 5 person, 5 hosts on the air. So perhaps to begin, to start a new show, when you have a lot of songs, perhaps 2 is enough.
Yeah, okay. Chemistry between presenters. I once had a guy who was brilliant on a morning show, and the partner he was with, the female presenter, there was just no chemistry there. So, sadly we had to find her another job, and she went off and was very successful elsewhere. And then I found this other person, and they were just brilliant. And I thought, well, I think there might be some chemistry between these two people. How can we kind of check that out? So I sent them off with some money to go on a night out and get drunk together, which I thought was a good idea to see if there was chemistry. They came back with all sorts of stories. We did a demo, we did a pilot of the show. It was great. What is chemistry? What is chemistry to you between presenters?
Chemistry is absolutely magic. I have a show in Los Angeles that is our company's highest rated show for chemistry alone, and it's Valentine in the Morning. Hot AC is the format on My 104.3, in case you want to go to the app and look for it. And Valentine is kind of the dad of the show, and we have tried to bring in a few other players on that show. And lo and behold, the person that was perfect was always part of the show. She was answering the phones, she was an associate producer. We bring her forward, and that chemistry was just electric. And it's the #1 2554 show in Los Angeles, Valentine in the Morning, with Jill. And we just added another in your own backyard guy. We don't go outside and hire the best from another company or something like that. It's always from your own backyard. So he came from promotions. He used to answer phones for radio shows. He came in. He loves being in the building, loves being in the show, loves being on the air. He just started 2 weeks ago and already electric. So I do believe that chemistry
is the key.
If you can get that chemistry, you've got yourself a very successful show.
I know we've got, is Dan, my colleague Dan McGrath in the audience? Dan's over there. Dan, Ollie, when you've, stick the mic over there to Dan. He was just waving. Because Dan produced a very famous radio show, which we just made a podcast about called Breaking Breakfast, by the way, which was the Chris Evans Breakfast Show on BBC Radio 1 in the 90s, and it was huge. Dan, chemistry for you guys was kind of like you were just friends hanging out first. Is that how it worked, or what's the chemistry thing for you?
Yeah, I met the presenter on a show before we did the radio show, so we became friends working on a TV show together. He was very good at spotting people that he could use on the air as well. That was something that he was very good at doing. So when I was working on this breakfast TV show with him, he was looking for foils that could deliver punchlines and stuff like that, which I managed to be able to do in my younger days. And so when he was offered the breakfast show on Radio 1 in the UK, which at that point in his career was a huge step, a natural step for him, but a huge step, he looked to the people around him that he already knew and said to me, do you want to come and do this show with me? Which was a no-brainer for me. Holly was working with him, had known him as a producer on another radio station. So she was on the air with us. And also one of the things that he was very good at doing was, as the show started, as we were piloting the show, he'd kind of go, that person needs to be on the air. Because as you say, as Dennis just said, a lot of us were backroom people, really, production kind of people that came to be his friends. And then John, who was the exec producer, also was in his ears. John eventually came on the air as well because we were the people already around him that knew him. So it wasn't forced. In its simplest terms, it wasn't forced. We just all knew each other, and we hit the ground running on the air. So we went on the air and went, this is great, we're having a great time.
That's a really good point, thank you. It's a really good point. You can't force it, chemistry is natural, Okay, so we've got our presenters. The format is of whatever the format we decide, and we've got these fantastic, beautiful presenters on our radio show. Does every show, in your view, Vincent, does every show need a studio producer? Somebody who's guiding the A to B of the show every morning? What was your view on that?
I think yes. Because a producer can help the host to be better, can coach them, can do all the boring things, all the administrative things, and is here to reinforce the cohesion, to make the team work better. And so, for me, it's really important.
Because lots of radio shows don't, and when I see those shows, I always kind of think, there's somebody missing in the room. There needs to be a producer. I mean, you've stood behind lots of presenters in your time. You're standing there in the background with your clipboard, right? That's an essential role, yeah?
No clipboard.
No clipboard. What?
I'm not the boss. I tell you, I am the orchestra leader, and I really think that I'm there to just make sure everything flows. It's nice. Inspiring the talent is so important. Because sometimes they get a little tired or something, be right back. There's times where I've left the building, run across the street and bought Starbucks, came back, and everything was great. 10 minutes later. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I think the role of the producer is underrated, and it is really essential, especially with something that I was talking about a little bit earlier, is all of the different ingredients in a radio show right now. And I think the producer and his team maybe brings everything to life nowadays.
If the show dynamic allows it, I really enjoyed the on-air producer role. So this is someone who's not constantly on the mic, but they have a defined character. They're kind of in the background, but when they're called up, they can do it, and they've got the ability to deliver a line or to move on to the next bit, or they could even be the voice of authority in the show. Sometimes I like there to be how could you call it? A judge, a referee, a bad guy. No, we can't do that bit. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of important as well. Off-air production then as well. Bigger shows have more resource. I know some shows that have a team that works on the show, and then throughout the rest of the day, there's another team who's working on the next day's show as well. So you're exec producer at Shree FM. Just give us an outline of the team that is on that show then.
So on Shree FM, we have 2 hosts. We also have a writer. We have a sound designer. We also have a...
Sorry, sound designer just for the morning show?
Yeah.
Great.
But he's also for all the podcasts, all the best of.
Okay.
And it helps us for the filming. And we have also a social media manager and assistant and operator. So more people you have, more you can do things.
Yeah, okay. So we've got our presenters. We've got a producer, hopefully, and I think, you know, certainly from this stage to you, I think the importance of the producer cannot be understated. And if you haven't got one, I would urge you to rush out and hire a good one. Good producers, by the way, you can't find them everywhere, right? When you find them, look after them. Treat them well, pay them more, because they can really make the difference between a good show and a brilliant show, okay? So if you've got a good producer, look after them.
People are laughing.
They're laughing.
They're laughing. I hear them.
Good, yeah. Go on. We got a point from the floor. Ollie's checking his social media. He's like he's ordering his Uber Eats or something. We've got a no, over there. No.
There's a woman.
Yep. I've got a mic. It's fine.
Hello, my name is Anna. I just have a question. You're referring to two hosts. Are you never having just one?
I could do 6. I do 1. I do 3. I do 2.
And if you just compare having 1 with 2, when you're talking about like having a show that's really, the morning show really, really working out well, have you anything to say about that?
One of the points about chemistry is, I agree, I think take this from, it's an arranged marriage morning show is not interesting, usually. And so I totally try to be exactly how Nick feels, and that is go out, have fun, really create relationships together, and that relationship develops into a show, and it's infectious, and listeners feel part of that excitement each morning. So that's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. We try to make sure that no one is a silo. Everybody is a real team, and it's friends.
I know we've got, where's Dennis Outich? Dennis Outich, let's get the mic to Dennis. Dennis is the #1 morning show in Slovenia, of all places. Congratulations. Dennis, how many people are on air then? We were just talking about that team for a bit. 4. So it's called The Dennis Outich Show, so you're the star of the show, but you've got other people that's co-host, if you like, yeah?
Yeah, 4 of us in the morning, 2 guys, 2 girls, and I started alone. It was just me for 2 years, and then we added a weather girl and a traffic guy, and they just did a weather and traffic every half an hour, and then it just came together, and we are doing this for 10 years now. And our producer, which she was producing the show in the morning with us for 3 years, and then we added just her on air also, and now it's 4 of us. And it's called 4 Friends now.
Yeah. So there was an on-air. So there was a producer who was then contributing some bits on air, and suddenly it was like, actually, she should have a seat at the table as well.
The radio station started as, with the big star. It was a morning show hosted by a host of a TV show who wants to be a millionaire. And I was working as a weekend DJ, and three of them, the Jana Morel, who is absent today on the session, she started as a receptionist in the radio building.
Perfect.
And she was then producer for a daily show for someone else. So everyone started doing something else on the radio, and none of us was really a star in our country. So we just came together, and everything just happened.
Yeah, organic development. Thank you very much. Okay, content. Let's get into the content business and talk about content and content planning. On your show, then, for example, Vincent, do they talk about real life?
Yeah.
Okay. How much of the show is that? How much is real life and what they did at the weekend versus here's the latest thing that's going on in Hollywood or whatever?
The show is 3 years old, and when the host arrives, he says, "I don't want to talk about my personal life." I say, "You have to," and it's really important. And so, I forced him. I obliged him. And after, he tried. And he saw that we have a lot of message, of interactivity with listeners who say, we have the same life, and we are lucky to have a host who has really the same life as our listeners. So perhaps now it's about 40%, 50%. We have to increase that, but most of your personal life on air, better is it.
Okay, and do you have kind of rules of the stuff that they can and can't do? Because we all know there's a big difference between personal, which I would encourage people to put on the radio, and private, which you draw the line and you say, no, we're not gonna talk about that. So where's your line? Does everybody know the difference?
Yeah, it's better in French, but it's the difference between private and intimate life.
Okay. Oh, okay. It gets a step further with French.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Dennis, I listened to Bobby Bones, which is one of the shows that you oversee, and you work with him as well. If you haven't heard it, it's a fabulous show with a great cast of, I was going to say characters, but they're not. They're just real people on the radio, and they talk a lot about what's going on in their lives, from quite serious things through, like adoption of children and what they think about vaccinations and all those kind of things. Is the success of that show because of the authenticity and because they're talking about their real lives?
Well, it's funny. We took Bobby. Bobby I was working with heavily in Austin, and he was on a top 40 station there. And we have opportunities all the time in the company, and we look at it and we just go, God, he's really good, and he was really good with listeners. He understood how to syndicate himself. He was actually self-syndicating himself to other markets in Oklahoma City and stuff. And he had the brain for a larger picture, and that impressed me, And lo and behold, I left him to go to New York, and there was this whole big company meeting of anybody have any ideas to think out of the box. And here are our serious, and Bobby Bones was on the top of my mind because it was such a great show in top 40. Like, he was playing all of the hits, Chainsmokers, all that stuff. And he is from Arkansas. And you just do what about country? And he was like, I love it. And we moved him to Nashville, and the rest is history. But yes, they are, matter of fact, that's their tagline, a bunch of friends. And they have been. So he and Amy, yes, Amy had quite an adoption struggle. She is a very regular churchgoer. And she did a church group to Haiti. And she fell in love with 2 children, a brother and sister, and probably took her about 5 years to work out the paperwork to adopt these 2 children from Haiti. and that's her son and daughter.
And that's phenomenal, really, because if I was standing up here today and saying to you, hey, talk about adopting children from Haiti, that's going to make a good bit, you'd go, no, you must be crazy. But it's about the authenticity of the characters and how you feel as a listener, part of their lives. You're part of their gang, if you like.
Exactly. And Amy is an amazing, she has her own podcast now, her own blogs. She actually has her own fashion line now. And it is all generated out of the Bobby Bones Show. Yeah. And because people love her and love who she is as a person and really wants to get into her world.
We have, where was our radio star from over here? You pointed to me
He's
before.
right there, come on.
Where is he?
RFM,
can we get a microphone over here? I want to ask a question to our shy, yes.
Oh, he's shy.
To our shy radio star.
It's been on the air for 10 years.
Tell everybody who you are and what you do, and then I'll ask you a question.
I'm afraid my English is not very good enough to talk in public.
No, that's
no.
A quick question. How much of your show is about your life, and how much is about other stuff? Half and half? So
sorry,
kind of 50-50?
I can explain in English. Sorry.
You can't explain in English.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
We will get the answer to this question. We've got to pass the microphone over there. We've got another point at the back. We'll let you work on the answer to that. We're going to come back to you. Let's have another question. Tell us who you are, where you're from.
Hello, I met Dennis 20 years ago when we started Meg FM here in Portugal, part of Renascença Group. Now I'm on RFM. This was, Pedro Tejal was the man to create
Pedro, stand up. Everybody needs
Meg
to.
FM.
And I'll tell you why Pedro is so important, okay? Pedro was the morning show host, Good Morning Portugal, for many years, okay? The other thing that's wonderful about him is he did hire me to...
No, that's the end of the sentence.
No, the reason why is he let me alone. He says, just inspire, and you have... Pedro Tejal has created a legend of people, a litany of people. May I interrupt?
Yeah, of course, please.
And you included, that are now... I learned so much, and I think mentoring is my point here.
Okay.
Pedro is the ultimate mentor here in Portugal, and I think that is fantastic. I see you sitting next to him, so excellent work.
There you go.
And that's what we need to do as broadcasters, is pass it along. So your question, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I was telling everybody, so I'm Joanna, Rodrigo, and Danielle. We make our drive time show. It's three of us. The name of the show is Wi-Fi. So your question was, how much do we bring from real life into our show? So every day we bring real life, because I'm a single lady. So he's a married guy with 2 kids. Danielle is a married guy, no kids. So we bring personal. And
so would you talk about like a date that you'd been on? So if you've been on a date
I'm still working on having a date. So I will when I have those dates. COVID and stuff.
Okay.
And then, so we bring real life, not only about our family questions, but of course our scenes during the day, because sometimes I had this fight on traffic, and on holidays I went there and I saw this, so we bring real life, and we are friends. And so I'm really proud to say that I work with friends, and I can tell that's pretty much the secret.
That's a real theme, isn't it? Work with people you like and friends. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go on, Vincent. You're gonna say something there.
One of my hosts says sometimes that a show is better than a session with a therapist.
Right. Yes, they can do on-air therapy. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move it on a little bit and talk about the stuff that we do. I just want to crack into some views on features and benchmarks on Cherie FM. Are there any really great benchmarks that you do, that you've been doing for a long time? I know in your session this morning you talked about, what was the phrase you used about consistency is sexy? There you go, I was listening, you see. Okay, and I like that, because it makes something boring sound quite exciting. Yeah. Consistency is sexy. So this is about having great benchmarks that you do for a long time. Have you got any examples or the kind of things that you like and look for in a benchmark?
The most important benchmark, because we are a soft AC station, so our target is a woman. So we have kids who answer questions about news, about sense of the day, and we do that since 10 years perhaps, and it's always a success.
So 10 years you've been doing that one, yeah? Because I've had a show, they've done a benchmark for, it's probably about 3 months, and they go, yeah, we've done that one now, should we move on? I'm like, nobody knows it yet. It's 3 months old. It's not even out of its pram. So keep it going a little bit. Consistency is sexy. Say something about that.
Yes, no question. I work with many shows. For example, the Elvis Duran morning show. Again, hi Sharon. His biggest benchmark was phone taps.
Yeah.
And we started that in 2000 and on his show, and it's still there. It still evolves. It's still like that secret candy that you store in the refrigerator that you go into the back and steal. So it is very, very important that your benchmarks are fresh, but it is really important you know when a benchmark has become stale. Because if a benchmark has run its life, then get rid of it. It's just say that was fun, that's so great, close the benchmark up perfectly, and it's been fun for several years, and listeners are really happy you are moving on with your show too. So when somebody leaves the show or a benchmark gets stale and we introduce something new, we include the listeners in our development.
And they're so important because often you talk to listeners in focus groups, for example, and you say, why do you like this morning show? And the first thing they say is, I like it because of that thing you do at 8:10.
Exactly.
It's the one hook that they can instantly jump into. So I'm sure all of you have got fabulous benchmarks on all your shows, on all your radio stations, but certainly keep them running for a while. Okay, let's move it forward. Let's talk about listener interaction. Getting the listeners involved. And Dennis, I was interested on one of your slides from the session this morning. You had, as part of the team setup, you had some kind of profiles of the team, and then the listener was part of the team as well, right? So they're part of the crew. Their view is important. Is it important, in your view, to have lots of callers on air, or just a sense that there's lots of people contributing, if you see what I mean?
Exactly. Interaction is, we have screens for texting, we have screens for phones, we have screens for social media, we have screens for everything. We usually kind of keep it off to the right so everybody sees that there is interaction of some form happening. And we reference them at all times. And then there's people who are haters, and then sometimes they say, why are you doing that again? And it's like, and somebody like Elvis would go, oh, we just got a text saying, why would you? And the listeners who love you pile on and go, we love it, don't change, don't get rid of it, things like that. So interaction has to be part of the fabric of the show. So that way we know that listeners are listening, and we also know that they're engaged with our content. They love our storytelling, they love our information. We get compliments. We got so many compliments through the whole COVID era of thank God for you guys. You kept me posted, but you didn't scare me. We were so afraid that to leave our house until we got in the car, and you were fine, and everybody kind of like really...
Some of the bits when I've been listening to Ryan Seacrest, some of the bits which I think are really powerful is when he's just talking to listeners like they're his friends. Listeners, and there's no airs and graces about it. He's not the big star. They're just someone else who he's chatting to in the morning, and it's really powerful.
And that has been his complete mission since the first day I worked with him there. And he just loves listener. He loves listener interaction. He loves when listeners get to the point, and he knows the listener feels so good after they shared something special or even just got to talk to him and the team. And it's a real special experience. And it has been, he's been on the air longer than any other host at Kiss FM in Los Angeles for mornings. So.
There you go. Right, I'm going to do a snap poll. Okay, this could go horribly wrong. So this is the poll, the survey. So this is about pre-recording calls and editing them during the songs, or taking calls live. Okay, so hands up if you prefer to pre-record calls and edit them and put a polished version out. Okay, we got some pre-recording fans. Okay, yeah. And hands up if you prefer to have live callers and the chaos that can ensue with. Okay, I would say that's about 50-50. Genuinely, I'd say it's about 50-50, which is really, really interesting. What's your view on, I mean, if it's soft AC, everything's got to be lovely and polished, right?
No.
No! Okay, live calls.
Yeah, we want to have live. That's live.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, that's all.
It's easy.
C'est tout.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Any view on pre-recording? Like, I mean, it's slightly more difficult when you're networking all the shit out of it. So you've got to kind of pre-record everything, right?
Look, I think, and let me say this, you bring up Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest is the master Vox Pro. If there was a Vox Pro Olympics, he would win. He's the gold medal. He just, it's suddenly
Vox
fixed.
Pro Olympics.
Yeah,
right.
and he knows. And we keep changing. He loves the wheel. They don't even make it anymore. And we keep buying old ones to fix them. So what you hear, what we like on our shows is listeners that get to the point quickly so they don't bore other listeners, but we make them and how they participate in the show like it was the best call we ever had all day. So I'm a mix. I'm right here with the 50-50s. And I like a lot of live, but I like getting to the point quickly.
Yeah, and that's about coaching callers. Sometimes, let's get a point over here, Ollie, there's a mic over there. It's about coaching callers. Some callers are better than others. Some of them can get straight to the point, and I've worked with producers who are really good at coaching the caller. You've got a point, sir.
Hello, Anssi Honkanen from Finland, representing Bauer Media. I hear always that people talk about phone calls when talking about listener interaction. But in Finland, I don't know if anyone else does it. I think many of you do this. But in Finland, we mostly use WhatsApp voice messages as a part of the listener interaction. And we have noticed that most people don't call anymore, but the amount of WhatsApp messages we receive is huge. And I think in Finland it has totally changed the game. And it have lowered the bar to people to interact with radio.
That's such a good point, and thank you for making it, because getting a voice message in quality, by the way, as well, because the quality is always good, is really nice. Of course, it's a one-way, it's not a dialogue, but it's still about getting listener voices on, which is superb.
One on that, please.
Yeah.
So with many shows, we still do SMS and texting. And many shows, Elvis is one of them, he would say, if you guys say something, we're going to call you back. So if you don't recognize the number, it's us. And the first thing the listener says is, oh my God, you call us back. And that's better than the call sometimes, because it makes it sound like we care, we're there watching the text, we touch the listener with that. And so it's very, very important to have that.
Yeah, okay. Right, we've got about 12 minutes to go or so. There's a couple of other topics. If you've got questions as well, stick your hand up, we'll get to you. I want to talk about music.
Yeah.
So most morning shows I know play a variety of different amounts of music. So I work with one show that plays 2 songs an hour, and occasionally one. And then I work with another show that will play 12 or 13 songs an hour, okay? So the variety that you can get in terms of music quantity varies. But let's talk about music passion, caring for the music that you play. I don't mean to be rude to some morning show presenters, but some of them really don't care about the music. They press the button and they turn it down, and that's it, because they're thinking about the next thing. And I understand that, and that's great, and that's fine. But at the same time, my view is there needs to be some love for the music, because it's there, the presenter's playing it. So you want the listener to feel that the presenter actually likes the songs that they're playing. Do you encourage your presenters to have a bit of music passion? Please say yes.
Yes.
Fabulous. Tell me about that.
On adult station, for me, people come for the music and stay for the host. So the host
okay, just say that again. They come for the music and stay for the host. Okay, that's interesting.
And the host has to be connected to the music. He has to love it. He has to, it's a musical station, so he has to, it's like a chef in a restaurant. If the chef doesn't like what his dish, it's not good.
Yeah. Okay. So music, passion, music. Dennis, any thoughts on that as well, or
I work for two song shows. I work
Yeah.
for 16 song shows.
Okay,
'cause
16 songs?
The songs are getting really short lately
Yeah, they
in
are.
top 40. But if you care about the music, the listener does too. It's part of the listener experience. Please go there. Enjoy the music. That's what we all have in common, and we celebrate that.
One of the things I like doing is using music as content. So music benchmarks, finding a reason to play a song, or having a great benchmark on a Friday, which is, the first song of the weekend, which is the last song that the show plays. There's a battle about that. So music can become content and can be very, very, very powerful for you. Okay, few more topics I want to crack into. Ideas and creativity. Okay. Right, let's just get this one. How do you do your meetings and get some energy in the room to get ideas? And, is that something that comes easily to the presenters, or do you have to have a format, a system, a way of encouraging creativity and ideas?
I'm French, so with alcohol.
You're French, so
Sorry.
what?
With alcohol.
Oh, with alcohol. Oh, right, okay. Actually, it's a really good point, right? You take them out for one of those lovely long French lunches, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works.
With not just lunches, day.
Oh, all day?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we are doing a lot of teamwork and go outside the station to be more creative, to think about other things than staying in the office.
Yeah.
And we do some parties, some drink, and it helps us to create.
Yeah, taking the morning show away out of the office and just going and chatting about the show can be great. We've got a point here coming through. Are you waving at me, or are you just holding the microphone?
I'm waving at you.
Oh, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. From the online participant came a question, which is, I guess, connected to this, from Margaret Marilim. My MDT is a very experienced duo, and I allow them to do their thing, and I support them with what they need. Is this a wrong approach? I don't like to control them because it tends to cramp their style and their mojo. Am I doing the wrong thing as a PD?
That's a great question. So, so Manchester United just bought Ronaldo to play for them, right? And they bought him because they want him to do his thing, right? And my firm belief is, don't put people on the radio and then try and put them in a box. Allow them to do their thing. Allow them the freedom and the room and the space. Sure, to play within the white lines, but give them the opportunity to express themselves and create themselves. It's a balancing act, right? You've got to kind of set some guidelines, but you've got to, encourage them to do their own thing.
Well, to that question, I say that if she is really, it's a program director asked that question about her team. If she is so supportive of that team doing their thing, absolutely, she's doing the right thing. The most important judge is the listener. So I would tell that program director to get a little bit of research, find out if what they do is accurate, and maybe tweak it eventually a little bit. If there is something that maybe they might be doing too much of, that the listener thinks is not enough. So I hope that answers her question. Where's she from, does she say? No, okay,
No,
so
it's
online.
anonymous.
Hello, online.
Hello, wherever you're watching in the
But
world.
yes, support your staff.
Yeah.
Support your producers, your team, everybody on the show.
Dealing with talent, you're talking about talent this morning. What's your approach, Dennis, with having those tricky conversations with the talent where it's not perhaps working as it should? Is there a long lunch philosophy that you have, or is it a short, sharp shock, or how do you communicate bad news to your talent?
It always comes from a place of love. I really do, and respect for their work. And let me just be honest with you. If people disagree with me, I get it. But talent is craving feedback right now.
Yeah.
They are desperate for, what do you think of my show? What did you think of that idea? What do you think of this? So if you have a relationship of love with your talent and your producers, always come from a place of love, and they can take difficult things that hurt, ouch, you know, pulling a Band-Aid off, and they're like, no, I need to hear that. And most talent really appreciates an honest, loving delivery of bad news.
and yeah, absolutely. And program directors should love the talent, right? I'm sure you heap a lot of amour on your talent, yeah?
Yes, we have to love the talent. Yes, it's exactly that, and to know how to talk to them, to talk with creativity, with the heart, and they like it.
Yeah. If you're asking your talent to walk the tightrope every morning, you've got to be there to catch them if they fall. I think that's the kind of philosophy that I would have. Okay, we got a couple of minutes left, literally. Any more questions? This is your chance. Okay, down at the front here, and then over there.
Oh my God,
it's
good.
Ken Benson with a mask. Fabulous.
Hi, Søren from Denmark. On our morning show, we do the news every half hour, but next year we won't have the news anymore on our radio channel because young listeners find the news elsewhere. So I'm curious, how important do you find news on a morning show, and what would your advice be to me? Should I replace the news or just don't?
What kind of format are you?
So this is a radio station for young people age 15 to 31, I would say.
Oh, okay. So
we
I
play
think
13 songs an hour and have 3 hosts.
Yeah.
I think you're probably in that adjustment phase. My thing, and I said it earlier today, is connect the listeners to the world. They come to you for information. So the news might change, and you need some subtleties, and that's why on many of our shows that focus young are the 3 things you need to know. You know, they want to know that a new show is starting on Netflix. They want to hear a little bit more about little details, yes, but they also don't want to be stupid around their other friends, and they want to hear what's happening in the world, so they go, oh my God, I didn't know there was a huge forest fire in Northern California. My mother lives there. And if they become oblivious to the news, then I think, you know, it's our job, in my opinion, for a good radio show that connects with the listeners, is to do things radio excels at, and that is connect the listeners to the world. So I would rethink that.
I would keep it and keep it super short. Social ammunition, that's what they need. Would you keep it, get rid of that news, or you'd keep
because it helps to be connected to the world,
It helps to be connected to the world. We had one more over. Oh, it was Ken. There we go. Sorry. Ken Benson from P1.
So we're seeing a concerning trend in research in a lot of markets where the first occasion of morning listening doesn't occur now until people leave the house and get in the car, they get on a subway, plug in their earbuds in an app. Is this permanently lost listening at home in the morning, or are there any tactics or anything you guys have tried or done to maybe win people turning on the radio in the home before they leave?
Yeah, I mean, we are living in the over-communicated world, and the difficulties of getting people to turn their radio on first thing in the morning versus pick up your phone first thing in the morning. I mean, I did it. Did you all do it this morning? Who picked up their phone was the first thing they did this morning. I did it. I checked my messages. I had a look at my swap card, all that kind of stuff. And so you're right. I think it is. It's a habit-forming thing. Is there anything we can do to force people to listen to the radio more in the morning? I don't know is the honest answer. Have a great show, always. Marketing helps. There is a natural ebb and flow. And, there is no doubt that morning listening absolutely is under pressure, for sure. And we've seen some radio markets where now the peak is mid-morning or drive time. And so you're absolutely right that shift's occurring. We got to end. Is there anyone? We'll do one more. If we can squeeze one more in. Jim Receiver, who's king of Scandinavia, I think, or something, from Bauer. Something like that.
Something like that. I've had the privilege of working with both of you, and it's more of an observation and also noticing that when I remember when you both came to my office at different times and worked with the hosts, it was incredibly to find out how the host should be honest with each other. It was a story I remember that we did a role play with all three hosts, and one of them said that he was the carpenter, he was the muscle man, and the other two hosts looked at him and said, "You're a useless carpenter. You can't even run for 2 minutes." So and we had to change to see what is the real person and what is that they want to be and how can they do it. And I think the producers are so important to try to get the reality out of the truthless and honestness of it. And I think you both did a wonderful job with my team.
Bless you. Honesty
but that's
between
really
presenters.
True. You know, I tell this to everybody. Don't lie to your listeners and don't be fake with them. And in this case, if this guy wanted to have that portrayal of himself and he got called out, that is a typical listener going, "You are a liar." So don't lie to your audience at all. They hear when you stop short. They know you're editing yourself. You know that there's a lie coming. Listeners hear those tiny details. If you're going to talk, talk.
Be honest.
Yes.
Listen, folks, that is it. Our time is up. Our time is
Any
up.
more?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Dennis.
So,
Thank you, Vincent.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice lunch.
That was good.